She was already screaming when the flashing lights hit the driveway. Arrest him. He's trespassing on HOA property. Karen's voice cracked like a whip across the cold evening air. The cabin by the lake was glowing warm behind me. Smoke rising from the chimney. But her rage cut through everything. I stood calm on my porch, arms folded, watching her point at me like I was a criminal. 2 officers stepped out of their cruiser. Adjusting their belts, I shifting between us. Karen shoved a folded paper into one of their hands. This is an HOA violation. He doesn't even own this land. This whole cabin is illegal. Her tone dripped with certainty, like she was queen of the neighborhood. The officer scanned the paper, frowning. I already knew it was one of her fake notices. She'd slipped one under my door last week. Stamped with a logo she printed off the internet. I didn't say a word yet. I just let her dig deeper. She paced the gravel like she was preparing for a victory speech. And don't let that wife of his come out here pretending she belongs. This is our lake community, and I won't have outsiders ruining it. She spat the word outsiders like poison. That's when the cabin door creaked open. My wife stepped out slowly, her boots crunching against the frozen dirt. Karen spun around, ready to unleash again, but froze mid-sentence. The officers. They stiffened. Their eyes locked on my wife, then instantly straightened their posture. One of them, without hesitation, raised his hand and gave her a sharp salute. Karen's mouth fell open. She looked from the cops to my wife, back to me, completely thrown off. The icy wind cut through the silence. And for the first time that night, Karen had no words. Karen's eyes darted, her face twisting with confusion. What are you doing? She barked at the officers. Why are you saluting her? She's not anyone, she's just his wife. The taller officer lowered his hand but kept his gaze steady. Ma'am, he said firmly, you need to step back. His tone had shifted, no longer neutral. But respectful toward us and edged with warning toward her. My wife didn't flinch. She walked down the steps, slow and steady. Her presence heavier than Karen could ever imagine. You brought them here, my wife said quietly. Her voice calm but cutting through the tension. Now you'll hear the truth. Karen scoffed, trying to recover her power. She waved her fake notice again. No, this is my authority. I run this community, and you, she pointed a trembling finger at me. You're criminals squatting on this land. Arrest them both. The shorter officer glanced at me, then back at Karen. Ma'am. Do you even know who she is? Karen blinked. I don't care who she is. She's nobody. That's when my wife reached into her coat and pulled out a worn leather badge holder. She flipped it open just enough for the officers to see. Their shoulders straightened even more. Karen leaned in, squinting. But the officers instantly shifted, blocking her view. My wife's eyes narrowed at Karen. You made a mistake tonight. Karen laughed nervously, still clinging to her fake authority. Badge or not, this cabin isn't yours. I'll prove it. The HOA owns this land, and I'll get you thrown out. You'll see. She spun toward the officers, desperate for backup. Tell them. But neither of them moved. The taller officer's jaw tightened as he looked at me. Sir, do you have proof of ownership for this property? I let out the smallest smile, then nodded toward the cabin. It's all inside. Deeds, titles. Every page signed and notarized. Been in my family for 3 generations. Karen's face drained of color. She hadn't expected that answer. And that's when my wife leaned closer to her. Voice low enough to sting but loud enough for the officers to hear. You tried to fake authority on land you don't even control. Against the wrong family. Karen's lips quivered, but she forced a laugh. Trying to hold onto the scene she had built. You think a few old papers will stop the HOA? I have the board behind me. I can have this place condemned tomorrow. She shoved her fake notice against the officer's chest again. But this time he pushed it back into her hand. Ma'am, he said, voice clipped, this document is not legal. It's missing state registration, signatures. And it's printed on regular copy paper. You forged this. Karen's face snapped red. No, no, that's official. She shook the paper like it would suddenly turn real. You're just protecting them because she stammered. Pointing at my wife, because she brainwashed you. My wife didn't even blink. She pulled her phone from her pocket, swiped once, and turned the screen around. Karen's eyes widened at the live feed. Security. Cameras mounted all around the cabin. Every angle covered. And there it was, Karen, earlier that afternoon. Sliding that fake notice under our door. Her shriek split the air. You can't use that. That's invasion of privacy. I stepped forward for the first time, my voice steady. Funny. That's what trespassing is, Karen. That's what harassment is. You've been caught on camera every single time you stepped onto my land. And now it's all backed up in the cloud. The shorter officer took the phone, studying the footage. His expression hardened as he muttered into his radio. Karen's hands trembled. She took a step back, suddenly smaller, her power draining with every second. But she wasn't done. Not yet. You think this ends me? You don't know who I know. I'll bring the whole HOA board here tomorrow. I'll shut this place down myself. My wife's eyes narrowed. Her voice dropped. Calm but cold, then tomorrow will be the day. You expose yourself to the entire county. The officers exchanged a quick glance. The taller one asked, Sir, ma'am. Do you want to press charges tonight? Karen froze, her jaw falling open. Karen's whole body stiffened at those words, press charges. For the first time, she looked nervous. Her eyes darting between the officers, me, and my wife. She tried to laugh it off, but the sound came out shaky. Charges? For what? I was just keeping the community safe. That's my duty as HOA chairwoman. The taller officer stepped closer, his shadow cutting across her. Ma'am, impersonating an HOA officer. Filing false complaints. And trespassing on private land are not community duties. They're crimes. Karen's smile cracked. She clutched her fake notice like a shield. No, this is a misunderstanding. Look, I didn't mean any harm. I was just worried about the neighborhood. We can work this out. I tilted my head, watching her squirm. Funny, I said slowly, because last week, when you stood on this very driveway and told my daughter she didn't belong here, you didn't sound very worried. You sounded hateful. Karen's face flushed, her mask slipping. That little brat was riding a bike without a helmet. I was protecting her. My wife's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed even. You screamed at a child and threatened to call child services. That's not protection. That's abuse. The shorter officer's radio crackled, dispatch confirming my property records. He nodded toward his partner. It's official. Title is clean, land is his. HOA has no jurisdiction. Karen's mouth dropped open like someone had yanked the floor out from under her. No, that can't be right. This whole lake belongs to the HOA. It's in our bylaws. The taller officer raised an eyebrow. Then bring the bylaws. But from what I see right now, you've been targeting this family with fake documents and false claims. He glanced at me. Sir, you still want to press charges? I let the silence stretch, Karen squirming in it. My wife touched my arm lightly. Her eyes never leaving Karen's. Not yet, she said. Some lessons need to be learned in the open. Karen frowned, her confusion flickering into frustration. What does that mean? My wife leaned in, voice low but sharp enough to cut. It means tomorrow, Karen. You'll have an audience. The officers warned Karen to leave the property immediately. Their patience running thin. She stumbled backward, muttering under her breath. Clutching that useless fake notice. Like it was the last piece of her crumbling kingdom. The headlights from the cruiser caught her face, sweat, anger, and fear mixed together, and for once she had no crowd, no board, no backup. Just the cold truth. The taller officer looked at me one last time. We'll file this in the report. If she comes back, call us directly. He gave a small nod toward my wife, one of respect. Before they stepped back into the car, Karen lingered on the gravel, her voice trembling. This isn't over. I'll bring the board, the neighbors, you'll regret ever moving here. My wife walked closer, her boots crunching slow, deliberate. Karen, my unit has faced cartel leaders, armed militias, and men who thought they owned entire countries. Do you really think your HOA board scares me? Karen's face went pale. She spun around and rushed toward her SUV, slamming the door. Tires spitting gravel as she tore down the road. Her retreat was loud, but her power was gone. The night went quiet again. I looked at my wife, the cabin glowing warm behind her. The lake still as glass under the moonlight. She slipped her badge back into her coat, then reached for my hand. I couldn't help but smile. She picked the wrong family. My wife squeezed my hand gently, her eyes on the empty road Karen had vanished down. She picked the wrong country, she said softly. Nobody tells us we can't live free on our own land. And right there, standing in the cold with the smoke curling from our chimney, I realized something. This wasn't just about a cabin. It was about every fight we'd ever faced, every right we'd earned, and every inch of ground we refused to surrender. Justice wasn't loud. It was steady. And tonight, it was ours.